Hey, Geeky Pastimes here, and in today's video I'm going to show you all of my streaming and recording setup, so all of the hardware, all of the software, and how everything's connected together. So apologies if the sound quality isn't quite as good for this first part of the video. I'm just recording it on my phone so I can show you kind of all of the gear, all of the setup and everything like that. So if I just switch you over, I'll show you what I see while I'm recording or doing things like that. So this is the setup from my view. So you can see there I've got my TV. I play on a big 55-inch Samsung TV. I don't play on a computer monitor or anything like that. You can see just over there, there's my wife's setup, because that's kind of why I play on a TV, is so we can sit together and still hang out together. And just in front of me, this is kind of all of my streaming setup. So you've got there the Xbox and PlayStation controllers, the remotes for the TV. You've got the headphones, which if I just do a bit of a closer look on these are the Arctis SteelSeries Pro wireless ones. So these are pretty good. Like, they're a little bit expensive, I think, for what they are. I really like the fact that you can swap the batteries out. So it has a little dock station next to the PlayStation, and you can actually just, when the batteries are running low, take the batteries out of the headphones and swap them with the spare battery you get, which you just then swap with the one in the dock, and then you're good to go again. They do have a few problems with kind of cutting out occasionally for a second or two, which is really annoying, but other than that they work pretty well. Then also on here, you've got the Razer turret here. I'm actually charging my mouse at the moment. This is, as a keyboard and mouse, it's fine. It's a mechanical keyboard, which I really like. It's pretty good as a keyboard. The main reason I use it though, if I just pick it up, I can show you, is that this part of it is solid. So it's like a little sliding out tray that you can use as a mouse pad. Now that's amazing because I actually play sitting on a sofa. So I don't have a desk to rest my mouse on. So if I'm playing games, that is really, really useful to be able to do. You don't have to have the mouse plugged in. Like I said, it's just charging. But that little tray slides away when you don't need it. And if you just want to put it on your lap while you're playing games, it works absolutely brilliantly. And there's not many keyboards and mice that do that at the moment, so I find that incredibly helpful. Now the other things I've got over here is my HP Spectre 360 laptop. I use this basically as kind of a stream monitor. So I have my Twitch dashboard up there, or my YouTube dashboard, whatever I'm using. And that's really, really handy just to be able to read chat, interact with chat, especially if I'm playing PC games. It's quite nice having the stream controls on a different PC, so I can change stuff without actually affecting the main PC. I can also use remote desktop from this, so then I can change stuff in OBS, even if I've got stuff full screen up on the main TV. So this is kind of in place of having a second screen on a PC. I used to use two screens on a PC and that was really good, but with my current setup it just doesn't work out very well. I have my webcam here, which is a Logitech C920. Fairly cheap webcam, but it works pretty well. Have no big problems with it. Eventually I want to upgrade that to get a mirrorless camera, but that's going to be sort of one of the big upgrades. That's going to be one of the big expensive ones. And then over here, this is my Blue Yeti mic. So this mic is absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's really, really good. It just uses a USB connection, and you can also have separate headphones. I have these little headphones dangling down. These ones I have connected to the bottom of it, so I can sort of monitor it, and I can also monitor things like alerts and stuff like that. I find it very helpful to have two sets of headphones on all the time. Normally one pair of headphones, the main ones, those, will have the PlayStation audio coming through them, and the ones that are connected to this will have all of the PC audio coming through them. So yeah, I get alerted, when I get a follower or subscriber or anything like that. And also if I'm using Discord, that's what I use to chat with. And I actually just use this mic for Discord. I don't use a separate one. I just run everything through the stream and through Discord, because they've got Discord has enough controls that I can kind of change the volumes for different things without it being a problem. Now, the last piece of tech on here is my Stream Deck. So if I get my water bottle out of the way, this is my Stream Deck. Now, this is something that I wasn't terribly excited about before until I started using it, and it's absolutely incredible now. It lets you set up lots and lots of different buttons that can basically be assigned to anything. I mostly use it to sort of start recording or start the stream, and when you start pressing one of those buttons, it actually lets you know when it's on and when it's not. Then there's also buttons on there. I can see the viewer counts. I can also do things like I've got all my Twitch scenes there, so I've got a folder and then I can swap between all my Twitch scenes, or I can press the YouTube scenes and switch between all of those. Then I've got another folder for like sound effects and things like that. And also one that's really, really useful is I have a links one, where in there I've just saved a little text file with all of the links that I need. So if I need to quickly tell someone my YouTube channel address, I just press that and it types out the YouTube channel address. That's super handy, and it's something that saves a lot of time, especially when you're doing a lot of stuff, filling in forms or sending emails, things like that. Or just you're in a stream and you want to very quickly tell someone like one of the things that you've set up. And all these things are really, really quick to set up. Now, going over to my main setup, like I said, I use my TV, my 55-inch TV. Down here you can see all my consoles. So I have my PlayStation 4 Pro, and that's connected to the sort of base unit for the headphones. So that's the thing that the SteelSeries headphones connect with. And you can actually see here, if I just pop out the side, the battery just slides in there. So that's one of the batteries. And when you're charging it, you just pop it in there, push it down, and it works. Then I've got my Project Scorpio Xbox One X. I always like the sort of day one editions. And then I've also got a load of rubbish on there, like PlayStation VR stuff set up and some of the games that I'm playing at the moment. Going up here, this is a sound bar. This is one of the Samsung sound bars. I pretty much bought this just because I had a Samsung TV and I thought it would work together better. It doesn't really, it doesn't work amazingly, but it sounds good, so that's absolutely fine. Like, to be honest, because I use my headphones so much, I don't use it a whole bunch. But when I replace the TV, hopefully at some point in the next year, I'm also going to be replacing this, I think. So then I've got my PC set up. Now this is a little bit more complicated. So this is my PC. This is a cable that I use to connect to my phone to get video off of it. So this is my PC that you might have seen my video recently where I built this. And on top of here, I've got a few different things. So I have, this is just a cheap external storage that's like 5 terabytes that I dump all the videos to after I'm done with them, just so I've got my own copy of them. In case anything happened to YouTube, I've still got all my videos. This is a wireless antenna that I don't need right now, so I'll move that off. Now these two things are super important. So these are things that people often ask me about. The thing at the bottom is simply a HDMI switch. So I have inputs in there, I don't know if you can see just there. I've got inputs from all my different consoles go into that, and then it outputs one HDMI signal, basically. So I have my Xbox, my PlayStation, and my Switch are all connected to it at the moment. And then if I want to switch, from my Xbox to my PlayStation while I'm streaming, I don't have to unplug anything. All I need to do is switch off PlayStation, switch on the Xbox, and this will switch over. If I've got them all turned on, I can actually just use a remote control to change between the different inputs. This is really helpful if you don't want to be scrabbling behind the back of your TV to change inputs all the time. And the reason I have all of them going into one input is because of this thing. This is the Elgato, you can see there, the HD60S Plus. This is my capture card. So I have an external capture card because occasionally I want to use it with my laptop rather than my PC, so that's why I didn't get a PCI one. And what this does is you have the USB coming out of that HDMI switch into this, and then this goes from HDMI out into the TV, and then you also have a USB coming out of this into the back of the PC. So that basically sends a pass-through signal to the TV, which means everything goes through just as it should. And that's why I actually got this model, which is a bit more expensive. This one sends a 4K HDR image straight through at 60 frames a second. Some of them might only send through a 1080p signal. Some of them might only send a signal without HDR. Some of them might send a signal through that's not at the full frame rate. So you kind of have to be a little bit careful about which one you get and what kind of signal you want to be able to go through to the TV. The USB capture on this is only 1080p 60, but that's fine because that's what I stream at. So that's absolutely fine for me and that's fine for recording. Obviously in future I might upgrade to one that does 4K as well, but for now this is absolutely fine. So the only other thing that I have here is this little thing, which is surprisingly useful. And this is something that clamps onto the edge of a desk and I use it to hold my phone up. So when you see videos where I'm talking directly to the camera, I have this. I think this cost me like £25 on Amazon. And I use this just to hold my phone up, clamp it there, just so it's a little bit further away from me while I'm talking. I also have something similar connected to my microphone. It just clamps onto my desk. So if I just show you that quickly. This thing, this clamp, this cost £15 on Amazon. And again, it just screws onto the side of your desk and then you can use it to hold the microphone in position. And I can move this around really easily, and I actually move it around all the time in streams because I changed the way I'm sitting, because again, I'm not sitting at a desk. So you can sort of swing it around, change the elevation, and change the angle, which is really, really useful. Like I said, it wasn't expensive at all, so very, very helpful for me. So that's all of the gear that I kind of use. That's all of the tech I use. If you have any more questions about any of that, please do leave it in the comments below and I'll try and go in more detail. Most of that stuff can be found on my kit.co link, which you can see I've put a link to in the description. If you order any of that stuff through there, I get a little bit of money back, I think, a little bit of commission. It doesn't cost you anything more, but I get a little bit back. So please consider it if you're thinking about buying any of these things. So this is the PC setup that I have. So this is all of the software that I use, all of the things that are sort of connected on PC that let me record stuff and do streams. Now, probably the most important piece is OBS. So this that you can see here is OBS, which is Open Broadcast Software. It's a free piece of software that's absolutely amazing. I know if you buy any kind of capture card or anything, you're very likely to get some software bundled in with it. Personally, I would say go with OBS. There's a lot more customization in this. You can learn how a lot more things work, and you can customize things to be like exactly the way you want. So I'm a big fan of OBS. The thing that I've got set up at the moment is actually OBS Live. Now this is kind of a plugin for OBS. If I just show you StreamElements, this is StreamElements. It's a website where you can kind of sign in with your YouTube account or your Twitch account or your Facebook account, and you can set up things like overlays. You can get some analytics on there. You can set up a bot. You can set up a merch store. You can do all things like that. Now, StreamElements is one of the sort of possible options for doing this kind of thing. I strongly suggest you do use one of these because I think they automate a lot of things that are otherwise very difficult. Streamlabs is the other choice. The reason I'm not a big fan of Streamlabs is partly because the Streamlabs software is it's like their own version of OBS, and I had some problems with stuff that wouldn't work, particularly plugins I struggled with. The other reason is Streamlabs try to sell you a subscription to their services to get like better overlays or alerts or things like that. And I really don't think it's worth it. I don't think that it's worth spending money on a Streamlabs subscription when you can get plenty of overlays, plenty of themes and stuff like that completely for free. And you can also get custom overlays made for cheaper than a Streamlabs subscription is. So with the overlays, if you go on something like Fiverr.com, which I use all the time, and I'll put a link in the description below, Fiverr lets you type in, oh, I want a Twitch overlay, and you'll get sent, you'll be shown loads and loads of different people that are good at making them, and you can choose, do you want to spend like £5 and get something that they've made for a bunch of people and they'll just customize the colors for you and put your logo on, or do you want to spend a bit more money and get something that's completely custom made for exactly what you want? Now that sort of thing's going to serve you much better than getting a subscription to something where, thousands of other streamers are going to have exactly the same things, because obviously everyone gravitates towards the ones that look good. Personally, for the overlays, this is my overlays section. I have all of these overlays set up. These are the old ones that I don't really use anymore. These are the ones I do use now. So if I just show you my in-game one, this is the overlay I use on StreamElements. This is the focus overlay. I bought this from nerdordie.com. Didn't cost very much money. And it came with like all of these different things. Like I just really like the sort of clean look and the sort of very subtle animations on it. You can customize all of these different things. You can have different webcam setups, different places to put like alerts and things like that. If you do like Nerd or Die, again, in the description below, I'll put it there. I've actually got an affiliate code for them, so I get a tiny bit of money if you use my affiliate code. It's a very small amount of money, but every little helps. And on this, you can just set up this complete overlay, and then all you do is you actually copy the overlay URL, and it turns into a link which you can put into OBS as a browser source. So I'll explain that a bit more in a little bit when I talk about how to set up OBS. Now, other things you can do on StreamElements, you can set up things, like I said, a bot. So I can have a bot on there that just talks in chat when someone does something, like subscribes, or they can like run little games and things like that for the downtime on your stream. With the themes, you can choose themes on StreamElements. All of these are free. So you can pick up any of these themes. You can just scroll through it and look at something. I quite like this one I used to use. And you just press on it, and it's like, oh yeah, that looks really nice. And you can just press create my overlay, and in your overlay section, it'll just make loads of like templates for it, and you can just go in and customize every bit that you want to. And obviously you don't need to use them. All of the ones that say they're like super themes means that they've got like a starting screen, an ending screen, a hold screen, and a game screen. You obviously don't need all of that. Like, you just use the things that you want to use. But yeah, I really think StreamElements is brilliant. I like use it all the time for loads of different stuff, and it's super easy to change because all your overlays are actually stored kind of on the website rather than on your computer. It's actually really, really simple to like change it, or like if you do something like I did stupidly the other day and built a new PC and wiped the wrong hard drive, it doesn't matter for my overlays because all my overlays were stored on here. So like I didn't lose anything to do with this. And you can just quickly switch. So if like this is my YouTube one, I can switch and go to my Twitch version of it. So just do that, wait for it to refresh. And then I've got all my Twitch overlays here and all of my Twitch stats and things like that. So I can see, okay, like this month I've had, you know, a load of tips, mostly thanks to Vaping Viking. I've had 66 new subscribers, 266 new followers. Like I can get all of that stuff straight away, and you can see the last few things that have happened. You can see the last few, like, what's the word, like activities, notifications, I guess, that you've got. You can even change your stream settings if you want and things like that. So StreamElements I heartily recommend. I think is really good. You can even run giveaways and stuff like that. So going back to OBS, how does OBS work? OBS is basically a piece of software that lets you create a video image that is being exported to streaming services. That's the idea behind it. So what you do is you set up a scene. Now I'm having to show you this on a PC one, so I apologize that you're getting this weird Inception effect, but I'll talk you through it, how this all works. And this scene, if you just look down at the bottom, you've got all of the different components that make it up. So you've got the display capture, which is actually just now displaying everything that I am showing on the screen. And I use that partly because for Call of Duty, for some reason when I play on PC, display capture is the only thing that doesn't give me any kind of judder. But obviously while I'm doing this, it's super useful because then you can see everything I'm doing with the software. Then anything above that will appear on top of it on the image. So anything below will be hidden by things on top. So then I have my webcam. So the webcam is a separate input source. It's a separate video input. And that is something like, because it's over the top of it, it hides the thing below it. So if I swapped my webcam down below it, you can see it disappears because suddenly it's hidden. Then I've also got my desktop audio. So any noises that my PC makes will be sent to you. That's really useful, obviously, when you're streaming for notifications and things like that, because the notifications will actually be played out by your browser sources, and that will then go through your sort of speakers or whatever, and then people will be able to hear it as long as you're capturing your desktop audio as well. It's obviously super important as well if you're trying to show someone a video or trying to show someone a PC game or whatever. If you've got an audio mixing deck or something like that, which I don't have anything like that, then you can do slightly cleverer things where you decide to have multiple outputs, and then you have some things that will only go to the stream and some things that will only go to you and different things like that. I don't have any of that fancy stuff, so this is very simple. Then you've got my microphone, so my microphone's being tracked as well, and you can see in the audio mixer where I'm talking, you can see the mic set up there. For the microphone, just to make that a little bit clearer, I actually have a few different things set up here. So I have some filters on this. Now the first one is really, really simple. It's a noise gate. Now what a noise gate does is it won't play any sound from your microphone until the volume that's coming into the microphone has reached this open threshold. So you can see that it's set at minus 26 decibels. So I've worked out that when I talk, even quite quietly, one of the first sounds I make will be at least that loud. So that will open the microphone up. Anything below that, so things like my wife's TV, people shuffling around in the room, something outside, none of that will set that off. So none of that will open up. So essentially my microphone's muted except for when I'm talking. The close threshold is once it detects the sound is below that level, then it will stop recording sounds. And you can do things like having a takt time and a hold time just to make sure it doesn't like cut off in between individual words. So if you pause in a sentence, but you can modify all of those things just to make sure essentially that you're not piping audio from other things and you don't get things in the background suddenly getting put through to your stream or to your recording. Then the other thing I have is this VS2X plugin. Now this is something that's super useful. I found this through this Reaper audio thing. So if you Google like Reaper OBS plugin, you'll probably find it. And this is something that lets me set up a compressor completely free. All of this stuff that I'm showing you is free. This is a compressor, and basically it means over that volume, if I talk, so say if I suddenly shout or I suddenly like something makes me jump and I'm a bit louder than usual, it will actually compress it 2 times. So the change in volume, say if I suddenly said something and it was twice as loud, it would only be like half as extra loud, like 150% instead, which kind of brings all the sounds to something that's a more of an acceptable level. This is also quite useful because it kind of stops some of the clipping and stuff that can happen. So this just makes everything sound a little bit nicer. It's not essential, but I quite like it. Then the last thing I have is the browser source. So this is really important. The browser source is the source that you put in which has your overlay in. And you generally want to put that on top of everything else, because then it will sort of like overlay, which is what the name is, on top of everything else you're doing. So that one is really simple. You just put in, I think you'll be able to see the link for my overlay there. You put in the link from StreamElements, then you put in the width and height of just whatever your monitor is, or whatever the canvas is that you're using, and then you can do things like shut down a source when it's not visible and refresh the browser when the scene becomes active, just to make sure it refreshes your overlay every time you switch to it, which is quite useful. So, going back onto the settings, I won't be able to change many of the settings because I'm recording, but if I just go show you these, this is how I've got it set up. Now, I'm not saying these are the best settings for OBS, this is just what's working for me at the moment. I do have a tendency to kind of jump back into these and occasionally change stuff about, especially if something's not working for a particular game. When I'm playing PC games, often things don't, necessarily work the way I want them to, so sometimes I have to change some bits of this. But general settings, I pretty much left it all as what it is, so I haven't changed anything in this. The source alignment snapping is quite useful to change sometimes, because if you want to put something near the edge of the screen but not at the edge of the screen, sometimes it will start snapping, so you can just uncheck that and it will let you change it, which is useful. If we go down to stream setting, I have it set up so at the moment I've been streaming on YouTube, because that's what I was doing yesterday. So you can actually just choose the service you're doing, and then you can get your stream key from YouTube and just put it in there, and that works. There are loads of other things you can choose. So you can choose, Twitch, YouTube, obviously not Mixer anymore, Facebook Live. I wouldn't use Restream personally, but you can put lots of different things in here and get like the one that is applicable to what you want to stream on. And then you will always be able to get your stream key from them. One of the good things about OBS Live is for some of the services you can just log in, which means you don't need a stream key, you just log in straight from the software. Now you can do it on Twitch, which is helpful. So if I just show you there, if I go to Twitch, it'll actually let me just connect my account, so you don't need to use the stream key, and then that means you can get your chat and stuff from it. So going to output, this is the bit that people probably have the most difficulty with. Now before we go any further, I need to say I stream at 1080p 60. That's not for everyone. Like, my internet connection's pretty good. I pay for a package where I get like 300 megabit down, and I probably get about 30 megabit up, which is probably better than a lot of people. That means I can stream at fairly high quality, and I don't seem to have any trouble with it. I know there's some people that maybe their PC can't handle that, or maybe their internet connection can't handle that. It's absolutely fine to stream at a lower resolution. Like, loads of people stream at like 1600p, and you can't really even tell the difference. So it's not 1600p, sorry, but 1600 width. You can't really tell the difference between 1920 and 1600, especially on Twitch. So it's up to you what you want to do. I also stream at 60 frames a second. I think for games like Call of Duty, that's actually pretty important. If you're playing like Planet Coaster, it probably doesn't matter. But if you're playing a first-person shooter, I would probably prioritize the frame rate over the resolution personally. And bear in mind, if you're trying to record something at 60 frames a second, that's twice as much work for your computer as if you're trying to record at 30 frames a second. That's twice as many frames, twice as much that you need to upload. So it's quite a lot of extra work. So that's why it's probably worth bringing the resolution down. I've seen loads of people suggesting just stream at 720p. If you're happy with that, then do that. I personally think it kind of makes some games look kind of bad, but it's entirely up to you. Bear in mind, lots of people, I happen to watch Twitch on this TV, which is big. So that's probably why I care about the resolution a little bit more. Lots and lots of people just watch my streams or my videos on their phone. So they probably don't care about the resolution anywhere near as much. So, you know, your mileage may vary, but everything I'm going to say from now on applies to kind of me doing this at 1080p 60. So, for streaming, I use the NVIDIA NVENC encoder. I've got a GTX 1080 graphics card, which was pretty good for that series. You know, it's getting a little bit old now, but one of the things NVIDIA cards can do is they have their own encoder, the NVENC encoder, and it is more efficient and slightly faster than using your processor to encode things. So that means you're more likely to get, you know, a really fluid stream. You're more likely to have like less impact on your frame rate if you use that to stream. So that's what I tend to use when I'm streaming. It seems to be kind of more reliable and seems to just have less problems while streaming. And obviously when you're streaming, the main thing you want is to have less problems. Like, even if the quality is not quite as good, I'd rather have that but then have it work all the time rather than have something that looks a tiny bit better, and you know, it really would be a tiny bit better, but end up making me constantly have to go back to settings or restart the stream, because that'd be a right pain. Especially on YouTube, restarting the stream is a nightmare. So rescale the output. Like I said, if you want to, if say maybe your upload connection, your upload speed for your internet connection isn't very good, you can rescale that to 720p, like, and it will still look probably fine. Or you can rescale it to something else, some other resolution that you think like you're happy with and you can cope with. Then you've got this rate control. So CBR is the thing that I use. I have seen people recommending using CQP. I personally use CBR and it's been absolutely fine. And what this does is it decides how much information to send. Like, how much should your computer send to the ingest servers for Twitch or YouTube or whoever you're streaming to. And for CBR, this is measured by bitrate. So this is quite easy to understand, I think. You know, if you're imagining that this is at 6,000, it's sending 6,000 kilobit per second or 6,000 kilobyte per second up. That's like 6 megabytes. And my upload speed can handle that perfectly well. Twitch won't let you send more than 6,500. At least at the time of recording this. Everything I've read says that if you send too much information, Twitch actually does a weird thing where it kind of throttles it back and you end up with an image that's at like 480p or something. So don't ever set that above sort of 6,500. The reason I've set it as 6,000 is just because the lower it is, the less good your image will watch, but the more people will be able to watch it without having to buffer or anything like that. Thankfully, Twitch has got much better about letting people select different options so they can like choose things themselves. So I would say go to the upper end of what your internet connection can cope with, but it's kind of, this seems to be stable for me and it seems to look really good. All of the other settings, I just leave them as they are. I leave keyframe interval on 2, max B frames on 2, GPU 0 because that's the GPU it's using, preset on quality, profile on high, and look ahead and psychovisual tuning are both on. These are things that do something that apparently make the image look better, but they use more of your graphics card. Now my graphics card, because I mostly stream from console, it's not actually really being used for anything else, it's just being used for streaming. So I leave all of that stuff on. If you're having trouble, you can try turning them off and see if that works better. Then if we go across to recording, this is one of the things that I found there wasn't as much help for online. But if you want to record YouTube videos, I strongly suggest you don't just take your Twitch streams and download them and then upload them to YouTube. The reason for that being the quality is going to be pretty terrible and you're going to have your overlays and everything like that on there. So I actually record separately to that. I record completely separately when I want to record something, so it's at high quality, and a lot of the time when I'm recording, I'll turn my overlays off and I've got something set up where I don't have any overlays, just so people can enjoy the videos without having to have, you know, the webcam on or the thing saying who's tipped and stuff like that on there. So this is my recording setup. I have it recording going straight to my bigger NVMe SSD, so that's the hard drive that it's going to. I record an MP4. The reason I record an MP4, even though it gives me a warning, is because then I can import it straight to Davinci Resolve. Davinci Resolve is the thing I use for video editing, and I'll show you that in a moment. Davinci Resolve is really, really good, but for some reason it doesn't like certain video formats. I could record in MKV, which is what OBS wants you to record in, but then you have to convert it before you can edit it in Davinci. Now, a lot of the things I do, particularly with Call of Duty, speed is quite important. Like, I need to record some footage, edit it as quickly as possible, upload it as quickly as possible to try and be like one of the first people out there with a lot of my videos. So that extra step of converting it takes time, and I don't want to have to mess with that. So that's why I record an MP4. The big downside to it is if your video is interrupted, like OBS crashes or your PC crashes or something, you've lost that video. You can't recover it. So you need to make sure you end things properly. Thankfully, I've never had that happen, but it is a risk, you know, especially if you were going to be recording something very long. If you were playing for like 3 hours and then suddenly your PC crashed, you've now lost that last 3 hours of footage, which would be really bad. So you sort of have to plan around stuff like that a bit more. Now, the other interesting thing is the encoder. I use my CPU encoder for this, so X264. That's the one that uses your processor. And the reason I do that is because people have said that it's slightly better quality. I don't really understand that. I'm not techie enough to get it. But I've got quite a good processor, better than my graphics card really. It's a Ryzen 3700X. And so it copes with it absolutely fine. And I can put the bitrate stupidly high and have the quality at 1080p 60. And with the processor, that doesn't seem to impact my frame rate while I'm playing games at all. So that's why I use it. I think generally it's a good idea if you're going to have 2 separate bit rates to use a different encoder. So say use your GPU for one and your CPU for the other. And if the CPU is the one that supposedly has better quality, makes sense to use that for the recordings that you're going to keep, that you're going to upload to YouTube or whatever. So I use the CPU for it, keep it at 1080p. I use a bit rate of 50,000 kilobytes per second. Obviously that's way too high for streaming, but bear in mind this is just going to my hard drive. When you're talking about recording, this just really affects the file size. So the higher this is, the bigger the file will be. That's pretty much it. Keyframe interval 2 still, CPU very fast, profile none, tune none, and I haven't put any special options on that. Then for audio, everything's just left on 160. Replay buffer, I changed that to 30 seconds. I think by default it's 20. The replay buffer is something you can put on, so when you leave it on, it's constantly recording the last 30 seconds. And then if something fun happens, so this is good for games like Warzone, where it's unpredictable when something good's going to happen, then you can just press save a replay, and it will save the last 30 seconds as like a separate file. Really, really helpful. I don't always leave it on because it is kind of, you know, when I'm streaming and stuff, I'm recording that anyway through the streaming software. And it does, you know, have a chance of affecting your performance in other ways. So I personally don't use it that often unless I'm doing something where I know there's going to be unpredictable stuff happening. So say when I'm doing Easter egg stuff, I'll often leave this on just because I don't want to, you know, if suddenly I hear a sound file that I didn't expect, I can save a high quality recording of that. That's pretty much what I use it for. For audio, everything, like I have the sample rate set to 44.1, like I think there's 2 options there. It's up to you what you choose. Desktop audio, make sure that it's coming out of your headphones in your mic. So sort of you're monitoring things so you can hear any alerts or anything like that. And I've got a monitoring device there for things that I've got set up just to monitor. But all of this, I haven't got any delay because none of my video is delayed. You can do stuff where you can add a delay, but you can add like push to mute and push to talk and stuff like that. So you can press a button on your keyboard or on your Stream Deck, and then it will mute that particular source, which can be really useful if you're playing something where there's cutscenes or people talking or something. You can just mute that thing from the stream very, very quickly. Or if you need to say something privately to someone on Discord, you can just mute it by doing that. I'm not entirely sure why you would use a delay for the push to mute or push to talk button, but you can. Then the video option. So video, like I said, I just keep everything at 1080p. Your canvas resolution is the resolution of kind of the thing in the background that you're laying everything out on. Output scaled resolution is what it then uploads. So it can scale things down, and you can choose different downscale filters. If you do choose downscale, I would suggest using this Lanczos one, but it's entirely up to you. Like, as I said, I don't really do much scaling, so it doesn't really matter. I might do that if when I get a new graphics card I start playing stuff at 4K. Obviously I'll be downscaling to 1080p, and you just want to make sure that it looks nice when it's downscaled and that it's not, you know, using too many resources to do that, because it sort of defeats the point of it. Then common for frame per second values, I put it at 60 frames a second. So generally I want to be streaming and recording at 60 frames a second, like pretty much all the time. It's important to change that because I think by default that's at 30. So it's worth going in there to change it. It's just in video. Then you have like hotkeys. I only set up hotkeys to do the replay buffer, and that's because for some reason the Stream Deck can't control the replay buffer. I've got no idea why, but everything else I just do through Stream Deck. And then the advanced stuff, I don't really change any of this. It is worth sometimes, especially if you are generally streaming from console, then I would maybe change the process priority to a bit higher. If you set that to higher when you're playing games on PC, your encoding, your streaming, your rendering, whatever, is actually going to be taking priority over the games that you're playing. So that will lead to, you know, worse frame rates and stuff. So you've kind of got to make that decision about, do you care more about the frame rate of your stream, or do you care more about the frame rate of your game? Bear in mind, if your game slows down, the stream's going to slow down too. So generally you want to have the game running as well as it possibly can be. And then this just trying to keep up, basically. Yeah, I haven't changed anything else on here. This is all exactly the same. You can put a stream delay on. That's super useful if you are worried about, like, you know, stream snipers, or if you're doing something where you suddenly thought, oh god, I've got to cut the stream because I showed too much or something. If you're doing some secret data mining, I've never used it personally. You know, I'm not worried about stream snipers. Normal people have an easy enough time killing me. Then you can also automatically reconnect, and this is quite useful to have on, but I think it's on by default, where basically if your stream gets disconnected all of a sudden, like your internet connection suddenly cuts out for a second, it will try to reconnect every 6 seconds. Like, that's obviously quite useful. So, I can't remember if I actually changed anything then. I'm not going to press that. So, that's all of my streaming. Now, when I want to stream, I just set up the stuff in Twitch to say, or you can do it in StreamElements. Like I said, you can change the stream title and the game title. Make sure it goes live by pressing Start Streaming. Super easy. And if you want to record, press Start Recording. Very, very simple. If anyone's got any questions about any of that, again, feel free to ask in the comments, or ask on my stream, or ask on Twitter. I'm Geeky Pastimes everywhere. But the Discord for OBS is fairly helpful, so you can go over there and ask them for help. And I've got lots of like community representatives who will try and help you. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you is how I record videos. So once I've recorded a video from OBS, that will kick out a file, which is essentially, you know, an MP4, which then I can put into other stuff. And I do all of this using Davinci Resolve. So Davinci Resolve is a video editor. It's fairly similar to the Adobe stuff that you can use, Adobe Premiere, but it's completely free. So if you go onto the Davinci website, you can choose to download it. There will be a paid option, but you don't need that. You can just do the free one. So here you can see some of the videos that I've worked on in the past. If I just choose like one of the last ones that I've done, maybe where I was looking at some of the teasers, maybe. Let's look at this one. So, like I said, you can download the free version of Resolve. You don't need to download the paid version. And then this is what it looks like. So when you start up, normally you get this screen, and all you need to do is put in all of your different files there that you need to use. So I've got lots of different bits of like audio that I needed to use, like things I recorded where I was talking about stuff. Lots of bits of video that I've used, my intro and outro, all of that stuff. So you just put all of that in this bin, then go across to edit, and then it's literally just dragging and dropping stuff. And Davinci Resolve has a cool thing where you can put stuff over in this screen and then choose which bit of the clip you want to use. So you just press I to start it and then O to end it. If there's enough demand, I'll do a proper tutorial for how to do this. I'm just showing you quickly how it works. And then say if you like that clip, you can just drag it and put it on where you need it. Or if you just want a video, you just click the video on, just drag the video. Or if you just want the audio, just drag the audio. So it's really, really helpful, really, really quick to use. You can put loads of transitions and stuff in. You can do fancier effects if you want. You can put text on the screen, all of that stuff. And then you can like edit it all in this window. Once you've got if you've got like a decent PC, you can do a lot of stuff where, you know, once you put the transitions and the effects on, it'll update quite quickly so you can see it. If your PC's struggling a little bit, or you're running on a laptop or something, you kind of have to hope that you've done it right, because the playback thing won't update very quickly. But such is life. And then you can do stuff in Fusion as well, where you can edit together clips, you can put effects on, you can do really fancy stuff on here that I don't know anything about. So you can add stuff like particle effects and stuff on like that. but I sometimes use it to make something pop up on screen. That's essentially what I use it for. And one of the things that Resolve is known really for is the color grading. So you can mess around with the colors of stuff. So you can change the colors of whatever you want, really. If you want to offset something, so you can see here, if I wanted to make that video and for some reason I was like, oh, I want to make this pink because I'm going to use it as the background for the intro. Like, it's super easy to do stuff like that. And you can, like, you know, blow out the light bits and have like really pink light, then have the overall thing a little bit red. You've got a huge amount of choice over color, and you can do way more subtle things than that, which are very useful. But yeah, so pretty good. I like that. And then you've also got Fairlight, which is an audio mixing thing. I often use that to record narration over the top of videos, which is very, very helpful. And then you just, once you've done all of that, you press deliver, choose what you want your file to be. I always save stuff as MP4 so I can upload it to YouTube easier. And then you just render it. You add it to render queue, start render, and then it kicks out something that you can then upload to YouTube. So that's pretty much everything. I realize I've just kind of shot through a lot of the things that I use and a lot of the things I do. I wanted this to be a kind of starting point. So if there's bits of this where you think, okay, I want to know a little bit more about how the capture card works, or how do you use it, or what do you plug into it, or you want to find out a little bit more about how the video editing works, or you want to find out more about setting up a stream for Twitch or setting up a stream for YouTube, please let me know either in the comments or on Twitter or on Twitch. Like I said, I'm Geeky Pastimes everywhere. Or you can come over to my Discord. There's a link to it on my Twitter account, I think. Go over there and just ask me what you would like to see more of. And if there's a bunch of people who ask for one thing, then I might make another one of these videos where I go really into depth with one particular aspect of it. Thank you very much for everyone who's watched all the way through this. Like I said, please do give me feedback on it. I'd really appreciate it. And don't forget to like and subscribe. All those things really does help me, support me. So thank you very much, and goodbye.